by far one of the most expected holidays in Ireland. And not only because of its roots dating back to the Celtic culture, but also because of the horror stories that have been passing by from generations to generations. Now, Cork City has extra scary and entertaining nights to warm up for Halloween. I'll introduce to you the Spook Screen Cork, a film festival dedicated to horror and fantasy stories. So save your tricks and treats and I'll offer you a spooky experience instead.
The main reason why Spook Screen was done was that we noticed that outside of a few examples, like the Golden Blasters up in Dublin, there's very few film festivals that cater exclusively to genre offerings like sci-fi, fantasy, horror. I love film festivals, but they often skew more towards drama and more towards, I suppose, art house. And there's kind of a weird stigma against horror filmmaking, which I don't like. I mean, to me, like John Carpenter is a director to be as admired as much as like Pedro Almodovar or whoever. You know, like there's filmmakers I love, but sometimes genre is put in a box, which I don't like. So I very much wanted to address that. So that was one of the reasons why we decided to make Spook Screen, to give a festival for genre fans.
Spook Fest, which is what Paul brilliantly calls it, because it's quite friendly. Spook Fest, it's not, you know, so you feel like that could be fun. And there is a lot of humour. And what we've done in the last 2 days is we went to Cove yesterday. It was incredible. And what is wonderful about him thinking of this idea is not everybody does a horror fantasy festival. It is going to appeal to the young. We had a very mixed audience last night in the chat. Yes. They went from, I'd say, about 60 down to 18.
Well, I think all film festivals, but especially like for horror film, for short horror filmmakers, something like Spookfest is brilliant because you're meeting loads of different filmmakers and you all like the same thing. And that's what's great about film festivals, is you meet other people and you might end up, I might meet a director and end up like collaborating with them on another project, like, so it's great, yeah.
There is a room on the upper floor of the castle, at the top of a set of stairs. You must never enter that room, no matter what you see or hear. Do you understand?
Oh, I do, you like the shift.
I suppose my inspiration comes from a lot of things that I've watched over the years, and the fact that when I was growing up I used to read a lot of horror, Kuntz and Herbert and Stephen King and, you know, all these guys, and I kind of grew up with that, and I suppose it seeped into my brain. Along with, of course, we're all influenced by what we see on TV or the films we watch as well. So all those things have mixed up my head in such a way that these stories come out.
Yeah, it's actually following the story, actually. Basically, much of my film is kind of like a nod to the old 80s, 70s slasher horror films. So I thought, why not actually name it Axeman after the killer in the film, so make it as cheesy as I can. So again, a little nod to the old slasher genre, so.
And prepare for the scare of your life, as he has an axe to grind. He is Axeman.
Like for years I covered the Cork Film Festival and other festivals for radio and for magazines for Film Ireland, and I noticed in all the programmes, especially from Cork, there was a strong flavour of horror here. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's that sort of rebellious, chip on the shoulder Cork attitude or something, but there's a lot of horror film fans here, and that definitely comes out in the work.